The Amex Gold Card has a benefit that most cardholders rarely use, but when used often can make your card more enjoyable and more valuable. I recently spent 3 nights in Chicago using the hotel collection benefit, and I want to share my bittersweet experience at this hotel and using this benefit. The hotel I stayed at is Virgin Hotels, and it is downtown Chicago, and the location was perfect. The first thing we will talk about is price. I booked a grand chamber room, which is essentially just a junior suite, at $659.36 for 3 nights. And this is the same price that was on the Virgin Hotels website, so it worked out great. And actually, I've been seeing a lot of the hotels on amextravel.com in the hotel collection are the same price or a little bit cheaper than what you would pay if you booked directly with the hotel, which is great for me because one reason I was hesitant to use this benefit when I first applied for the Amex Gold Card was because the hotels in the hotel collection were a little bit more expensive on the Amex Travel website than just booking directly. So sometimes the benefits that you were getting didn't really make sense because you were paying more for them. They upgraded me 1 room type above to the Grand Chamber Suite before I even arrived at the hotel, and I discovered this because a couple days before I arrived I got an email confirmation and the room type in the email was the Grand Chamber Suite and not the Grand Chamber Room, which is what I originally booked. One benefit of the hotel collection program is 12 p.m. check-in when available. I arrived at this hotel at about 12:05 p.m. not on purpose, that's just what time I ended up getting there, and the room was not ready, which is always disappointing, but I kind of figured it wasn't going to be ready because 12 is kind of early and it was a suite that I was checking into, and suites are rarely ever ready early in my experience. It was also NASCAR weekend in Chicago, and the weekends are just generally busier than the weekday anyways. But then 2 hours went by and I go back to the front desk and I ask if the room is ready and they said no. So I was like, okay. At this point it's 2 p.m. I believe check-in at this hotel is 3 p.m. Front desk agents were really apologetic, really kind, and they offered me a free drink coupon to use at the rooftop bar. I didn't really want to drink at that moment, so I just went to a cafe that they have that is right across from the front desk. There's seating available and power outlets and just a place to sit and hang out. And then 2 more hours go by and the suite still is not ready, so they offered me another free drink coupon. I ended up doing a little bit of exploring of the hotel, so I ended up walking up the stairs, which is right to the side of the front desk, and I found a lounge. I was pretty empty because it didn't open up until 4, and at this point it was 4, but there was still nobody there. There was no lines or anything. There were actually a couple police officers up there that were just kind of hanging out on their phones. I don't know if they were supposed to be patrolling the area or just there to secure the property, but they were on their phones laughing and giggling, which I did see a lot of in Chicago. So at this point it's 4 o'clock. I'm in the lounge upstairs. I ended up using my free drink coupon to get a lemon drop, and I was just on my computer, and another 30 minutes go by. At this point I am starting to get a little frustrated, especially because I did have plans at 7, and that is one of the negatives to having suites, is that yes, it's a bigger room, you get more space, and in the end it's worth having, but the check-in process requires a lot of patience. There were people at the front desk when I went back there at 2 p.m. that were able to check into their rooms because they got a standard room. Seeing that is always a little bit disheartening, but it's also just a reminder that 3 out of the 4 benefits advertised in the hotel collection are not guaranteed. The only benefit you are guaranteed to receive is the $100 experience credit, so that is something to keep in mind, especially if you're looking at a hotel collection stay that is more expensive on amextravel.com than booking directly with the hotel. And honestly, I feel like the other benefits are added just for perceived value. For example, if you get to a hotel early, no matter if you book through Amex Travel or not, if your room is ready early, they're gonna let you check in early. They're not gonna say, hey, the room is ready, but you're not gonna be able to check in because you didn't book with your Amex Gold Card. So let's talk about what I use my $100 experience credit on. Then we'll talk about the surprising time they let me check out and do a quick room tour. I decided to use my entire $100 experience credit on food. The Virgin Hotels in Chicago is a 4-star hotel, so there wasn't a spa or many other activities that I could use the $100 credit on. My only option was pretty much food. The in-room dining menu is available online, so you can get an idea of what the prices are and what the options are before you get there, which I always find to be helpful. I did not really care too much for their breakfast options, but I did see one thing I liked, which was the stuffed French toast, so that's what I ordered, which I give a 4 out of 10 just because it was really dry and it didn't taste like anything. But I will say their portion sizes are pretty big, so you definitely do get your money's worth. For dinner, I ordered a burger, which again, the portion sizes were really nice and it came with a good amount of fries. And lastly, I ordered a mimosa, and I feel like it had melatonin in it because as soon as I finished it, I immediately needed to take a nap. Overall, I rate the in-room dining experience a 6. The food was just okay, and that's really why I gave it a 6. I think the best in-room dining experience I've ever had so far has been at Wynn Las Vegas. They have the best options, the taste is great, the service is amazing. 10 out of 10. When it was time for me to leave, I called the front desk at about 9 a.m. and I asked if I could have late checkout, and they told me that I could check out at 2 p.m. because of the hotel collection benefit, which is really surprising to me. I didn't really know what to expect because on amextravel.com there isn't a specific time that's listed, so I wasn't sure if it would be like an extra hour or what to expect. So I'm wondering if 2 p.m. is the standard time that they aim for, that all the hotels aim for, or if it's specific to each hotel. I plan on staying in more hotels in the hotel collection this year, so I will have more to compare it to. I also just want to share that this hotel has a rooftop bar that is really popular on TikTok. If you go on TikTok or Instagram and look up things to do in Chicago, the rooftop bar pops up quite frequently, so the traffic in this hotel can be a lot and overwhelming at night. And in my opinion, this is not good or bad. It just depends on what you are looking for and if you mind the crowds. If you want something more laid back, relaxing, and quiet, I feel like this is not the hotel for you. And granted, it only takes place in the lobby and on the rooftop bar. You're not going to hear the noises from your room. Well, you're going to hear noises from your room, but we'll talk about that later. But you're not going to hear like the people from the lobby in your room. It's mostly just navigating the crowds coming down and going up to your room. If you're on a solo trip and you want to meet new people, I think this would be a great way to do that because there's lots of people that go upstairs to the rooftop bar. If I had one complaint about this hotel, it would be that housekeeping would not clean my room while I was in it, which I've stayed at many hotels before and I've never had this issue. So I was just really caught off guard by it. I would understand if it was a standard room and there wasn't like a lot of space for housekeeping to move around while I'm also in there. It is what it is, but that's just something to keep in mind too. If you do visit there, you do have to be out of your room, so make sure you plan that accordingly if you are needing housekeeping services. Now it's time for the tour of the Grand Chamber Suite. This suite is 500 square feet, and when you first walk in, you are in the living room area, which has a couch, a table, and a TV. I think it's pretty spacious and the layout of the living room is pretty standard. You also have a mini fridge and a coffee and tea station as well as a mini bar. From the living room, you will enter the bathroom, which I also felt was pretty spacious. It has dual sinks and the toilet has its own separate space from the shower, which is always a plus. The shower is pretty big as well. I don't have any complaints about the living room or bathroom. From the bathroom, you will walk into the bedroom, and my one complaint about the bedroom is that you can hear the trains passing by 24/7. The trains pass by probably every 2 minutes. I'm not really sure what time they stop running because at midnight they were still passing by when I went to sleep. Other than that, the bedroom was pretty cool. I also like that you can order in-room dining from the TV, which I don't think I've seen before. I know you can access the menu from the TV at a lot of hotels, but you can actually place your order through the TV here. One note I do have is the door that separates the living room and the bathroom did not close in my suite. It's supposed to close and the door that separates the bathroom and the bedroom closed, but not the other door. I'm not sure if that is the case for all the suites or if mine was broken, but depending on who you're traveling with, that could be inconvenient and uncomfortable. I think the benefits I got from the hotel collection, which were the suite upgrade, the $100 experience credit, and 2 p.m. checkout, were great and made my travel experience much better. I did have a late flight departing at 8 p.m., so that 2 p.m. checkout was invaluable to me. And considering you would be paying the same price on amextravel.com to book this hotel with your hotel collection benefits as you would on the Virgin Hotels website, this is one of the best ways to get extra value out of your Amex Gold card. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.